Since I'm a sacrifice and a living sacrifice, then Lord, what you want is what I want. What you want me to do is what I want to do. What you want me to say is what I'm going to say. Where you want me to go is where I'm going to go. Who I'm with is the ones you want me to be with. What I read is what you want me to read. What I watch is what you want me to watch. What I want to listen to is what you want me to listen to. Lord, this is your life now. I offer this to you, whatever you want. Now that's what it means to be a Christian. That's what it means to serve God. And that's why you get into a fellowship like this, a flock like this, a group like this, and you're saying, I'm committed to being like Christ. I'm going to be his servant. I'm going to offer my life to him. I'm going to live for him. My life is in his hands. You are my life, Lord. It's all about you. Now, how does God respond when we do that? Well, look at the verse. It says, therefore, I've urged you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Acceptable is the King James Version. Acceptable to God. Pleasing to God. You want to please God? You want to please God? Do you want to please God? Then you give him every part of your life. Because that's what's pleasing to him. You want to rebel? Fine. Then you're not pleasing him. And I don't know about you, but not being pleasing to God scares me. Doesn't it scare you? You know, every once in a while you ought to get on your computer, just type in Jonathan Edwards and Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, and find yourself that sermon and read it. And just read from the perspective of a church member sitting there listening to a pastor preach the sermon to his church members and saying, you are like a little tiny little spider hanging over hell with a little thin thread, and only God has a hold of that thread. Only God has a control of your life. Only God can save you from that pit. Only God can keep you from burning up. Only God holds your life in his hands. You don't hold your own life in your own hands. You don't know when you're going to die. You don't know when life will end. You have no idea that. We have no idea about our friends when their lives are going to die. None of us know that day. And we stand before God not knowing that day. And we arrogantly say, it's okay. I got lots of time. Really? No, you don't. No, you don't have lots of time. You only have this moment, and you don't know if you have another. You don't know what you have. Only God. And listen, you should be pursuing pleasing him. That's what someone does. It's like earlier we're singing to the Lord, and I'm thinking, I'm glad I'm looking this way and not that way. I pray for the people up here who have to see your faces. Because some of you talk. And some of you act like you wish you were somewhere else. And there stands a holy, righteous God who says, your life is in my hands. And you treat me with such disrespect, such dishonor, such arrogance. And yet, in the daily walk of our lives, what are we like? Do we treat him with such disrespect and dishonor that we don't care what he thinks, what he wants, what it really means to be a Christian? God has called us to be salt and light in the world, right? Salt. What's salt good for? Man, it makes it taste better, doesn't it? I said our son cooked us some hamburgers the other night, and I said, well, man, what'd you put on these hamburgers? What'd you put on them? He said, well, just a little seasoning salt and some Creole salt. Well, he didn't put just a little on there. It was well savored. And I thought, you know what? That's what we're supposed to be in the world today. We're supposed to be telling people and showing them, this is what it means to be, this is what God is like. This is the character of God, and this is what God is doing in my life. And we ought to be saying to them, this ought to savor your life. This ought to make your life say, ooh, I need some of that. Now, here's a good question for us. Who needs what you have? Life doing well? Who needs what you have? No peace, no joy, conflict, trouble, pain, complaining, griping. What good is salt, Jesus said, if it's lost its savor? It's of no value and can be never savored again, except to be thrown away. Man, I don't want my life to be thrown away. I want it to have value. And what is your life like to your friends, to your neighbors, to your schoolmates, to your classmates, to your family? How are you savoring their lives? Present your body as a living sacrifice. That's what this church is about. Getting people there. Getting people to the place where they can say, I'm giving up every part of my life. Now, you guys are doing great. Some of you are really growing in the Lord. Some of you are really, really pursuing God. And as God nails you down about something, we were at the Billiards house, and there in the mirror, I saw the verse written on the mirror as I walked in, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I bet they're memorizing that verse. I didn't say anything till later, till we're about to leave. Okay, they're working on the verse. Good. Trying to get God's word into their hearts, into their lives. They're serious. How serious are you? Is it just going to happen in your life? It doesn't just happen. The reason we have small groups, the reason we have life builders, the reason we have worship on Sundays is to prod you to be like Christ. Now, there will always be people who rebel at that. There will always be people who just don't want that. Right? They'll come in, they'll watch, they'll say, don't want that. There'll always be people like that. There are some people I just say, you know what, if you just want to play some game, look like a Christian, act a little bit like a Christian, and play your little religious game, there are lots of places you can go for that. But not here. Because here we're serious. We want to live for Jesus. Right? Is that right? That's why we're here. Now look at the next verse. Look at verse 2. He says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Don't conform to this world. Now what's he mean? Don't make decisions like the world. Don't act like the world. Don't respond like the world. What did Jesus say when someone mistreats us? Go ahead and get them back? Turn the cheek. Love those who persecute you. Do good to those who despitefully use you. Do good to those who are mean to you. Don't hit them back. Any ungodly person can do that. I mean, how hard is it to return evil for evil? That's what the world does. We use that as an excuse, don't we? Well, I have every right to mistreat that person the way they treated me. If they treated you like they treated me, you'd be mad at them like I'm mad at them. No, as Christians, we forgive. As Christians, we demonstrate the love of Christ. We don't conform to the world. We're different. And if people at school, at work, in our neighborhoods aren't saying, oh, dear, the Freemans. Get so tired of them. I talk about Jesus all the time. And why can't they come over and have a beer with the rest of us? Listen, I don't conform to the world. And I don't want to conform to what they want. I want to conform to the Word of God, and I want to conform to Him in my life. I don't want to be like the world. And the world doesn't like it. They hated Jesus. And we are so insistent as a church today that we could get everyone to like us. Because if we think they can like us, they'll come and we'll get to talk about Jesus. Jesus didn't do that. Paul didn't do that. None of the apostles did that. All of them died but one. And all the persecuted Christians throughout the centuries who lived for God, separated from the world, paid a heavy price. But, oh God, I don't want to. I'm an American and I shouldn't have to pay any price to love God. We're so afraid of any kind of price that we just won't even do anything that someone might think we're a Christian. They might reject us.